California rear-end romance, a fake engagement with a billionaire that turned real. The Los Angeles sun blazed fiercely, dazzling my eyes. I clutched the rental car company's damage bill, my knuckles white, as I stared at the man in front of me, Bradley Costa, heir to the Silicon Valley tech giant Costa Group, known by the media as the California Prince. He raised an eyebrow, a playful smile curving his lips, his gaze lingering on me like I was a panicked little rabbit. His stare made my skin crawl, and cold sweat broke out on my palms. I cursed myself 100 times in my head. Why did I have to mention being on probation? I was practically asking for trouble. Bending over backwards for the company. He repeated my words slowly, his fingertips tapping gently on the Porsche's hood. The rhythm felt like it was tapping directly on my heart. Sounds like you have a good attitude, but I wonder if your actions match your words. I nodded frantically, almost bobbing my head off my shoulders. Absolutely. I'm the first one to arrive at the San Jose office every day, and the last to leave. I always exceed expectations on every task my supervisor assigns, even when organizing meeting minutes. I double-check them 3 times to make sure there are no mistakes at all. I rushed to prove my loyalty, speaking so fast I sounded like a machine gun. I was terrified he'd have his assistant send me the bill immediately. After all, that $22,000 repair fee was an astronomical sum for a recent graduate still on probation. Bradley watched me on the verge of tears and suddenly let out a low laugh. The sound was deep and pleasant, but it only left me more confused. He stood up and walked toward me, looking down at me with eyes that seemed to see right through my thoughts, even behind his black sunglasses. Fine, he suddenly said, a hint of teasing in his tone. Since you're so sincere, I'll cover the repair fee for now. But you have to agree to one condition. When I heard there was a way out, my eyes lit up instantly. What condition? Name it. I'll agree to 10, not just 1. As long as I could settle this $22,000 debt, I'd do almost anything. After all, I could barely afford my rent in the San Francisco Bay Area as it was. Bradley leaned closer, and a faint scent of citrus and cedar filled my nostrils. I held my breath nervously, my heart pounding. He leaned in until his lips were almost touching my ear, his voice barely audible. Starting tomorrow, bring me a cup of soy milk and youtiao, fried dough sticks, from that old shop in San Francisco's Chinatown every morning. Remember, they have to be fresh out of the pan. I won't accept them cold. I froze, thinking I'd misheard. I stared at him blankly. That's it. I'd expected him to make some harsh demands, like making me work overtime for free for a year or handling all his personal chores. I never imagined it would just be bringing breakfast. Bradley straightened up and patted my shoulder, his tone returning to its usual casualness. What else? Did you think I'd make you buy Costa Group to pay me back? He paused, then added, oh, and if I don't get my hot breakfast one day, you'll have to pay me back the repair fee immediately, plus California's legal late fees. I quickly assured him, don't worry. I'll line up before dawn tomorrow to make sure you get fresh soy milk and youtiao. The weight lifted from my shoulders, and I felt like I'd gone from hell to heaven in an instant, light as a feather. Just then, his assistant Martin walked over with the receipt, and handed it to Bradley respectfully. Sir, the payment has been processed. Bradley glanced at it and handed it to me casually. Keep it. Remember to transfer the money on time. I took the receipt with both hands, as if it were a royal decree, and nodded repeatedly. Thank you, Mr. Costa. I'll pay you back as soon as possible. Bradley said nothing more, turning toward the 4S shop entrance with Martin following closely behind. As I watched his back, I felt a mix of gratitude and anxiety. I had no idea if this accident was a blessing or a curse. But for now, the most important thing was to keep my job and work hard to pay off the debt. As for what the future held, I'd just have to take it one step at a time. Back at the San Jose office, I was on edge all day, fearing my colleagues would find out I'd rear-ended the boss's son. But to my surprise, I became the talk of the planning department as soon as I arrived the next day. It turned out a colleague had spotted me with Bradley at the 4S shop the day before and mistakenly thought we were in a relationship. Rumors spread like wildfire that I was the prince's special connection. When I heard the rumors, I almost choked on my own spit. I wanted to explain, but I didn't know how. I couldn't exactly tell everyone I was forced to bring Bradley breakfast because I'd rear-ended his car. That would only be more embarrassing. Just as I was at a loss, Bradley suddenly appeared at the planning department door. The entire department went silent instantly. His gaze swept across the office before landing on me, and he walked straight toward my desk. My colleagues stared at me with strange looks, and my face burned like it was on fire. Bradley stopped at my desk, picked up the soy milk and youtiao I'd prepared, and said naturally, "Today's breakfast is on time, and it tastes good." With that, he turned and left, leaving the office full of stunned colleagues. I sat at my desk, wanting to crawl into a hole in the ground. Great, now I'd never be able to clear my name. I was officially branded as a special connection. But then again, maybe this wasn't so bad. At least no one would dare fire me during probation. It was a blessing in disguise, I supposed. I just wondered how long this absurd ordeal, sparked by a rear-end collision, would last. The warm touch of the coffee spread from my fingertips, but it couldn't calm my racing heart. I stole a glance at Bradley beside me. He was chatting casually with Mr. Su about Silicon Valley's venture capital scene, as if holding my hand and introducing me as his girlfriend outside the restaurant was the most ordinary thing in the world. But I was a mess. All I could think was, oh no, if this act falls apart, that $22,000 repair fee plus the cost of this new dress will take me a lifetime to pay off. Leah, right? Mrs. Su suddenly spoke up, her gaze gentle as it fell on me. Bradley said you two met at work. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly put down my coffee cup and forced a natural smile. Yes. I'm in the planning department. Bradley, he just started coming to the office to learn about the business recently, so we've had some work interactions. I didn't dare say too much, fearing I'd slip up. I silently prayed Bradley would take over the conversation, and not leave me hanging. Bradley seemed to sense my nervousness. He gently squeezed my hand under the table and added smoothly, "That's right, Mrs. Su." At first, I admired her dedication to work. Then we got to know each other better, and I fell for her. As he spoke, he looked at me with such a gentle gaze that I almost believed it myself. If it weren't for the fact that we'd been haggling over the $22,000 repair fee just a few hours earlier, I could have sworn I'd stumbled into some California romantic comedy. Mr. Su nodded with a smile. It's good for young people to appreciate each other. Leah seems like a steady young woman, Bradley. You must treat her well. I will, don't worry, Bradley replied, then picked up a piece of lemon-roasted chicken and put it on my plate. Try this, it's the signature dish at this Malibu seafood restaurant. I think you'll like it. I was flustered by his thoughtfulness and whispered a thank you, but my mind was in chaos. The lemon-roasted chicken was delicious, but I was too anxious to enjoy it. All I could think about was what would happen if someone offered me a drink. With my poor alcohol tolerance, even a glass of Chardonnay would make me lose my composure. Sure enough, before long, Mr. Su raised his glass and looked at Bradley. Bradley, it's rare for us to meet like this. Let's have a few drinks together, nephew. My heart tightened. I was about to stand up and say, Bradley can't drink, let me take his place, but Bradley stopped me with a hand on my arm. He smiled at Mr. Su. Uncle Su, I'm sorry, but I've been having stomach trouble lately. The doctor told me not to drink alcohol. Otherwise, I'd definitely drink more with you. He paused, then pointed at me, but it's okay, my girlfriend can drink. Let her have a few drinks with you. How does that sound? Me? Wasn't he supposed to help me avoid drinking? Why was he throwing me under the bus? I frantically signaled to Bradley, but he ignored me and even added, Leah has a great tolerance. She always takes care of everyone at friend gatherings. Mr. Su's face lit up. He turned to me excitedly, oh. That's wonderful. Leah, then let's have a few drinks together. Don't be shy. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I had no choice but to grit my teeth and pick up my glass, cursing Bradley 1,000 times in my head. If I'd known he was going to do this, I never would have agreed to come to this dinner. But it was too late now. I forced myself to stay calm, clinked glasses with Mr. Sue, and took a small sip. The spicy liquid burned my throat as it went down. I struggled to hold back a cough. Mrs. Sue noticed my pale face and quickly put some salad on my plate. Leah, don't drink too fast. Eat something to line your stomach. Thank you, Mrs. Sue, I said gratefully, taking a bite of salad to soothe my throat. Bradley leaned in close, his voice barely audible. Good job. I'll give you a bonus later. I glared at him and whispered back, you're framing me. I told you I can't drink. He let out a low laugh, a hint of mischief in his voice. Don't worry, I won't let you drink too much. Sure enough, every time Mr. Sue tried to offer me another drink, Bradley would find a way to change the subject, talking to Mr. Sue about Bay Area tech trends, telling Mrs. Sue stories about Napa Valley wineries, or occasionally putting food on my plate, playing the part of a thoughtful boyfriend to perfection. I gradually relaxed, slipping into my role, and even chipping in a few words to answer Mr. and Mrs. Sue's questions. As the dinner came to an end, Mrs. Sue took my hand and said gently, Leah, come visit us at our Napa Valley winery with Bradley sometime. Auntie will make wine for you too. I froze for a moment, looking at Bradley instinctively. He nodded with a smile. We'd love to, Mrs. Sue. We'll come see you and Uncle Sue when we have time in a few days. When we walked out of the restaurant, I let out a long sigh of relief, feeling like I'd just finished a tough battle. I rubbed my stiff smile and said to Bradley, Mr. Costa, I've finished my part. Don't forget the bonus. Bradley looked at me, a faint smile in his eyes. Don't worry, you'll get it. Though I have to say, you're a better actress than I thought. Well, I was fighting for that bonus, I shrugged, then thought of something and couldn't help asking, by the way, who are Mr. and Mrs. Sue? Are they close to your family? They're old friends of my dad's, Bradley said. Uncle Sue helped my dad a lot when he was starting the company. He paused, then added, they're always pestering me to settle down. If they knew I still don't have a girlfriend, they'd definitely set me up on blind dates with Silicon Valley elites. I suddenly realized, so you asked me to pretend to be your girlfriend to avoid getting pressured into marriage. Otherwise? Bradley raised an eyebrow. Did you think I was really that free, buying you a designer dress from Beverly Hills and treating you to a seafood feast in Malibu for no reason? Me? Even though I knew that was the case, hearing him say it so bluntly still made me inexplicably annoyed. But thinking about the $50 hourly wage and the extra bonus, I quickly let it go. Annoyance aside, making money was the top priority. By the way, Bradley suddenly stopped and looked at me. Earlier at the restaurant, Mrs. Sue invited us to her winery sometime. You'll have to come with me then too. Me? Still have to act. Otherwise? Bradley looked at me, a playful smile curving his lips. Did you think this $50 hourly wage was so easy to earn? Looking at his annoying face, I groaned inwardly. Great, I seem to have dug myself an even bigger hole. This girlfriend roleplay wasn't going to end anytime soon. After work, I clutched the handbag with the dress inside, standing outside the luxury women's clothing store in Beverly Hills, my heart in my throat. After all, Bradley had generously swiped his card yesterday, saying the dress was a gift. Now I was here to return it. If the clerk recognized me, it would be so embarrassing. But thinking that those $3,000 would reduce my debt from $22,000 to $19,000, I gritted my teeth. Embarrassment was nothing compared to paying off my debt. Taking a deep breath, I bowed my head and hurried into the store. The store was still decorated extravagantly, with clerks in matching uniforms wearing standard smiles. I didn't dare look around, heading straight for the cash register. Hello, I'd like to return a dress I bought yesterday, I said softly. The clerk at the cash register looked up at me and asked politely, "Do you have the receipt? Is the tag still attached to the dress?" My heart tightened. I quickly pulled the dress out of the handbag. "The receipt, the gentleman paid yesterday, and he didn't give it to me." "The tag?" "I cut it off when I got home yesterday, but I kept it. I didn't lose it." As I spoke, I pulled the cut-off tag from my pocket and handed it over carefully. The clerk took the tag, looked at the dress, and her smile faded a little. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Without a receipt and with the tag removed, we can't process a return according to our store policy." "Huh? You can't return it?" I panicked, quickly explaining, "One of your clerks helped me choose this dress yesterday." The gentleman swiped his card without asking for my opinion. "I really don't need such an expensive dress. Could you make an exception?" Just then, a familiar voice came from behind. "What's wrong? Did something happen?" My body stiffened. I slowly turned around and sure enough, there was Bradley standing not far away, holding a newly bought dessert box from Pasadena. Why was he here? Did he come specifically to stop me? Bradley walked over to me and looked at the clerk at the cash register, asking calmly, "She wants to return the dress. Is there a problem?" When the clerk saw Bradley, she immediately recognized him, and her smile returned. "Mr. Costa, the thing is, this lady doesn't have the receipt, and the tag has been cut off. We can't process a return per our policy." Bradley glanced at me, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "You want to return it that badly?" Feeling a little embarrassed under his gaze, I scratched my head and said softly, "Well, it would reduce the amount I owe you by $3,000. Bradley let out a low laugh and said to the clerk, "I forgot to give her the receipt yesterday. I can show you the payment record now. Can we process the return then?" The clerk nodded quickly. "Of course, Mr. Costa. Just show us the payment record." Bradley took out his phone, found yesterday's payment record, and showed it to the clerk. After confirming, the clerk began processing the refund. I stood aside, looking at Bradley's profile, my feelings mixed. Earlier this morning, I thought he was a bit of a jerk, but now he didn't seem so bad. "What are you thinking about?" Bradley suddenly turned to me. "You look so tangled. Don't tell me you're thinking about how to thank me." I snapped back to reality, shaking my head quickly, "And no. I just feel like I'm troubling you." "Troubling me?" Bradley raised an eyebrow. "When you rounded up 8 minutes to 10 minutes to calculate your pay yesterday, you didn't seem to think you were troubling me." My face turned red, and I lowered my head in embarrassment. That was just to earn a little more extra money. At that moment, the clerk finished processing the refund and transferred $3,000 to my account. When I received the transfer notification, I felt instantly relieved and said to Bradley, "Thank you, Bradley." Bradley looked at me, a smile tugging at his lips. "Now you're calling me Bradley. Not Mr. Costa anymore." I stuck out my tongue. "I was wrong earlier. I shouldn't have called you that casually." "All right," Bradley tapped the dessert box in his hand. "Since you're being so sincere, this is for you." He handed me the dessert box. "This tiramisu from Pasadena is really good. Think of it as a thank you for accompanying me to the dinner yesterday." I took the dessert box, my heart warm. "Thank you. Then I won't be polite." Walking out of the women's clothing store, Bradley asked, "Which way is your place?" "I'll drive you back." No, it's okay," I waved my hand quickly. "I live in an apartment in San Jose. I can take the light rail. You should head back soon." Bradley looked at me but didn't insist. "All right, be careful on the way. Oh, and Mr. and Mrs. Sue invited us to their Napa Valley winery next weekend. I'll come pick you up then." My heart skipped a beat, and I nodded quickly. "Okay, I got it." After Bradley left, I hugged the dessert box and walked, smiling to myself. Even though I still had a $19,000 debt, and had to keep playing Bradley's girlfriend, things didn't seem so bad after all. At least now, I not only had extra income, but also unexpectedly got a box of tiramisu. Back home, I opened the dessert box and took a bite of the tiramisu. It was sweet but not cloying, with a creamy texture, truly delicious. As I ate, I opened my phone and looked at the extra $3,000 in my bank account, thinking to myself, if I accompany Bradley to a few more dinners and work hard, I'll be able to pay off the debt in a few years. But I didn't expect things to be so simple. A few days later, I was getting water in the company pantry, when I accidentally heard two colleagues talking. Did you hear? It seems like Leah from the planning department is seeing the boss's son. Someone saw the boss's son accompanying her to return a dress at a Beverly Hills women's store yesterday. Really? No wonder she dares to refuse to take the blame for her colleagues even before her probation is over. She has a backer. The mug in my hand almost slipped, and the cold coffee splashed on my fingers. My heart sank. This was a disaster. The rumors hadn't died down, they'd gotten even more absurd. From a special connection to abusing power with connections, even if I had 100 mouths, I couldn't explain myself. Holding the golden marriage certificate in my hand, the cold touch of the Tiffany diamond ring still lingering on my fingertips, I sat in the passenger seat of Bradley's Porsche, still in a daze. As he started the car, sunlight filtered through the palm leaves of Los Angeles, casting dappled shadows on his sharp profile. Even his serious expression while driving was extremely handsome. "What are you thinking about?" He suddenly turned his head, catching my peeking gaze, his eyes full of smiles as his fingertips tapped my hand gently. I quickly looked away, touching the diamond ring on my ring finger to cover up. I'm thinking, were we too impulsive? We haven't even had a formal dinner with both sets of parents yet. Bradley let out a low laugh, reaching out to ruffle my hair. The scent of citrus and cedar lingered around me. Don't worry. My parents have been hoping I settle down for a long time. As for your parents, we'll go to your home in San Diego tonight to share the good news. Thinking about my parents, I felt a little anxious. Although Bradley had dropped me off at my home in San Diego last time, and my parents had been warm to him, even making American barbecue and tacos specially, I wasn't sure if they'd think it was too sudden when we told them we'd already gotten married at the Los Angeles City Hall. When we got home that night, the smell of grilled ribs hit us as soon as we opened the door. Mom poked her head out of the open kitchen, wearing an apron printed with California bears. Seeing us, she immediately smiled and greeted us. "Leah, Bradley. Come in quickly. The ribs just came out of the oven, still hot." At the dinner table, Dad sipped Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon while glancing at Bradley from time to time, his eyes a mix of scrutiny and approval. I nudged Bradley with my elbow, signaling him to speak up with my eyes. Bradley put down his knife and fork, cleared his throat, and said seriously, "Uncle, Aunt Leah and I got married today." As soon as he finished speaking, Dad's wine glass paused, and the red wine almost spilled. Mom also stopped cutting the ribs. Both of them froze. My heart tightened and I was about to explain that we'd fallen deeply in love, but Mom suddenly stood up excitedly and gave me a big hug. "Really? That's wonderful. I knew you two would hit it off." Dad also came to his senses, a smile appearing on his face. He raised his wine glass to Bradley. "Now that you're married, you must treat Leah well, and never let her be wronged." "You can rest assured, I will," Bradley nodded solemnly, then took the marriage certificate from his briefcase and handed it over. Mom took the certificate, flipped through it repeatedly, smiling from ear to ear. "Great. Our Leah is finally married, and to such an outstanding young man." Seeing how happy my parents were, the weight lifted from my shoulders. It turned out they'd already accepted Bradley. I'd just been overthinking it. In the days that followed, we started planning the wedding. Bradley's mother, now my mother-in-law, was extremely attentive. Every day, she dragged me to Beverly Hills bridal shops and Santa Barbara ocean view venues, and occasionally stuffed me with various jewelry and accessories, saying they were welcome gifts for the daughter-in-law, all new styles from luxury stores in San Francisco's Union Square. When we went to the bridal shop for the first time, I was overwhelmed by the rows of high-end custom wedding dresses. Mom-in-law pulled me to try on dress after dress, and finally settled on a strapless white lace wedding dress with a train, adorned with tiny diamonds that sparkled like California starlight under the lights. "This one suits you perfectly." Mom-in-law looked at me with satisfaction, then turned to Bradley. "Bradley, look how beautiful Leah looks in this dress." Bradley stood not far away, looking at me with gentle eyes and a smile. "Yes, it's beautiful." After choosing the dress, we went to see the wedding venue. Bradley had chosen a coastal resort in Santa Barbara, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the azure Pacific Ocean. The sea breeze was gentle, and we could see the Channel Islands in the distance. When the wedding planner asked what style of wedding we wanted, I thought for a moment and said, "Something simple and warm will be fine." But Bradley shook his head, taking my hand. "No, I want to give you the perfect wedding." My heart felt warm. Actually, for me, as long as he was by my side, any wedding would be perfect. A few days before the wedding, my best friend Sophia flew back from New York specially to be my bridesmaid. When she saw me, she looked at me with a gossipy expression. "Spill the tea. How did you and the California prince suddenly get married? I thought you'd date for a few more years." I smiled and told her the whole story, from rear-ending him on the Los Angeles freeway to meeting his parents in San Diego and finally getting married. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God. That's so dramatic. You rear-ended a billionaire and ended up marrying him. Your luck is incredible." I shook my head, looking out the window at Bradley talking to the wedding planner about details, and said softly, "It's not luck. It's meeting the right person." On the wedding day, the weather was perfect. The California sun shone brightly, and the sea breeze carried a faint salty scent. I wore my wedding dress, walking arm in arm with Dad toward Bradley at the end of the red carpet. He was wearing a sharp Italian handcrafted suit, looking at me intently with a gentle smile. When we reached him, Dad handed my hand to Bradley, saying solemnly, "I'm entrusting Leah to you now. You must take good care of her." Bradley nodded, holding my hand tightly. "I will." During the wedding ceremony, as the pastor stood by the Pacific Ocean and asked if we were willing to stay together through poverty and wealth, health and sickness, Bradley and I said in unison, "I do." When exchanging rings, Bradley looked into my eyes and said softly, "Mrs. Costa, please take care of me for the rest of my life." I smiled in response, "Mr. Costa, please take care of me for the rest of my life." After the wedding, we went on our honeymoon. Bradley took me to Maui, Hawaii, where there were white sandy beaches, turquoise seas, and the magnificent scenery of Volcanoes National Park. Every morning, we went to the beach to watch the sunrise, drinking fresh coconut juice. Every evening, we watched the sunset and ate macadamia nut-grilled shrimp at a beachfront restaurant. Life was relaxed and sweet. When we returned to our Los Angeles home, after the honeymoon, I truly felt the warmth of married life. Although Bradley was the heir to Costa Group and busy with work, he made time for me every day. In the morning, he woke up earlier than me to make avocado toast and freshly ground coffee in the open kitchen. No matter how late he came home at night, he would bring me a tiramisu from the Pasadena dessert shop or a bouquet of sunflowers from the Santa Monica Farmers Market. Once I was in a bad mood after being repeatedly troubled by a client over a planning department project. Bradley noticed something was wrong but didn't ask too many questions. He just made me a cup of hot cocoa, then held me on the living room sofa, and watched my favorite California-based TV show Silicon Valley with me. "Don't be upset," he stroked my head gently. "If you can't solve the work problem, tell me. I'll help you figure it out." I leaned against his chest, my heart warm. "No, it's okay. I can handle it myself. Just having you by my side makes me happy enough." Bradley leaned down and kissed my forehead. "Silly girl. I'm your husband, I should be by your side." Sometimes I thought back to the first time we met. I rear-ended his Porsche on the Los Angeles freeway, and not knowing who he was, I panicked and almost cried, making a lot of jokes. At that time, I never would have imagined that this man I called Mr. Costa would become the most important person in my life. As the days passed, our life was plain but full of sweetness. On weekends, we went wine tasting in Napa Valley or camping in Yosemite National Park. During holidays, we had big dinners with both sets of parents, roasting turkey at my parents' home in San Diego for Thanksgiving, decorating the Christmas tree, and exchanging gifts together for Christmas. Occasionally, we teased each other about the rear-end collision. You know, if I hadn't rear-ended your car on the Los Angeles freeway, do you think we would have missed each other? One day, I leaned against Bradley's chest, looking at the Hollywood Hills outside the window, and asked curiously. Bradley looked down at me and smiled. No. Even without that rear-end collision, I would have met you somewhere else, maybe at the San Jose office, maybe in San Francisco's Chinatown, or maybe on a Santa Barbara beach. Because you were always meant to be my Mrs. Costa. My heart filled with sweetness. I looked up and kissed his chin. Yes, and you were always meant to be my Mr. Costa. It turned out that some fates were just that magical. An unexpected rear-end collision on a California freeway had opened the door to a lifetime of happiness for us. I was grateful that I had the courage to apologize to him that day, grateful that he hadn't been angry with me for being a rookie driver, and most of all, grateful that we had both seized this fate and walked toward a happy future together under the California sun.